The dawn of civilization. Primitive. Dangerous. Exciting. The handwriting is on the wall. If the human race is ever going to amount to anything, it needs
the most civilized caveman I have ever seen.
Look who's come out of his cave.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is James from Cave Dweller Music. I am joined by my co-host Brendan. Today we have a very special guest for you, your new overlord, the Froglord. Thank you for gracing us with your presence, Your Majesty.
Hey! Hurrah, baby, it's the Froglord! Yeah, I'm not going to keep up with the voice the whole time. That's hard work. Yeah, I've tried it in the past doing the Froglord voice for like an hour or whatever, and
you lose your voice?
It's fucking hard work. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone listening at home, it might be a bit jarring, but like, hey man, that's not the fucking Froglord. I promise you it is.
We have visual confirmation. It is indeed him. So thank you so much for coming on. For anyone who's not familiar with your work or your mission, and do you want to just tell people a little bit about yourself, what you do?
Yeah, so Froglord is ultimately, it was a one-man Stoner Doom thing that I started during lockdown, which was like 3 years ago now, I guess. As a kind of way to something to do, keep me occupied. It kind of spiraled into, hey, this whole gimmick about frogs people liked. So here we are 3 years later, 4 albums down the line. Yeah, I sing about frogs. There's a storyline about the Froglord, which is a demigod frog-like figure with death ray vision and ectoplasmic slime that protects the earth from the environmental destruction caused by humans and any other creatures that might come their way, be that earthbound or otherwise, as we find out in some albums. Yeah.
I absolutely love the amount of lore that goes into it, and especially that split that you did with Bog Wizard was just friggin' awesome. A frog in the bog. I loved how you interwove it.
Yeah, that was like unintentionally, because obviously they've got their they do their whole concept storyline, and they basically like play. I think they play like D&D campaigns, and then they write albums based on that.
Essentially, yeah.
They approached me first.
Oh, cool.
And about asking to do a split, and it was like, yeah, it just makes sense to have these two worlds mesh together. It didn't like necessarily fit in with the exact narrative that I had for Froglord, but you know, fits in with the frog lore somewhere in the timeline.
There you go. Was it like another dimension you have to create or something? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. I didn't even really need to create any, like, there wasn't really any more like world building on top of it. I suppose it just made sense. It was like their goofy nerd shit that they were doing, and it fitted in with what I was doing.
Do you have a comic about that? Like, do you have any kind of like an actual like a book or something like that telling the story?
No, with the with the second album, The Mystic Toads, in the vinyl there was like it was like an 8-page comic book which some guy drew up for us, and there was that included. That's the closest thing that I guess I've had to a book. I've thought about it in the past about writing something, but it's like just rather focus on music. Like with every album, I do like a bit of writing in the actual cover. Yeah, never anything like formally written down. Yeah.
So I'm sure you get this a lot. Why frogs?
Yeah, fuck knows, man. So yeah, it was. So it was over. There's not really an exact reason for it. It was over lockdown. It was just after we went into lockdown in the UK, about maybe 3 months, 3 months after. I was like working on some black metal project at the time, which was really heavy and existential, like most black metal is. And I was like, man, the world doesn't need this bullshit at the minute. They want to just have a bit of a goof around. And I just moved into my girlfriend's. She was living with her sister as well at the time. And in the UK, we had an hour of government allotted time that we were allowed to go outside for. So in that time, we would go to the woods just down the road from us. We found this like big old swamp in the woods and found loads of tadpoles there. And I don't know, man, just thought it'd be funny to start a band that had something to do with frogs. To be honest, in that very first song that I wrote, the Froglords, there's a sample of Alex Jones's things like, "I'm tired of them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay."
Yeah.
I just thought that would be fucking hilarious to put in a song, like a Stoner Doom song. Yeah, that's pretty much how it happens.
I love
Wow.
the remixes of that rant as well, like all the club mixes
Yeah.
of him turning the friggin' frogs gay.
Yeah. Like there's some really wacky shit out there. Yeah.
There's actually a Alex Jones themed death metal band, and the whole
Really?
yeah, I have to find it and send it to you. It's hilarious, and it's like it's a concept based band about Alex Jones being abducted by aliens.
Oh, I fucking love that, man. That's brilliant.
And it's full of
Yeah,
samples. Like
he's so,
I don't think there's vocals. From memory, it's instrumental, and then just a ton of samples of him shouting about stuff.
Jesus, man. Yeah, I do need to push it through at this point, like especially like the early days of Froglord. There was because frogs, you get both, the right wing neo-Nazi like Pepe kind of community, and then you get like the LGBT, like the gays love the frogs, man. And like at the start, I had like both of these communities, I guess, which were sort of gravitating, and I did have to be like, I'm not actually into that like right wing shit, man. Like I know I had a Alex Jones sample, but fuck off.
Right.
Yeah, there was a bit.
This guy gets it, man.
Yeah, like every single fucking thing I think goes up online somewhere. There's always some comment, and like I try and like or respond to most things, but if then it's that, it's just like, nah, get fucked, man. Like, grow up.
How long do you see the frog lore expanding for? So you've got quite a bit you've done already. Do you have like a lot of concepts still in the works that you can flesh out, or are you kind of approaching an endpoint at some point?
It's kind of a question of really like how, because the actual story itself, I've probably got about at least 2 albums worth of story. So like the first 3 albums were essentially like the main storyline, and Sons of Froglord started the prequel. So there's 2 more of those to do, and then I might do a sequel thing after that. But it just depends how long the musical creativity, I guess, lasts.
Right. I mean, I think it's the same for anyone, really. That makes total sense.
Yeah, I think this is because like quite common, especially on this album, had comments a lot being like, that's a very different style. And I think that's one way of allowing, the story to progress, is just jumping onto a new style slightly.
Of course. It's got to progress.
Yeah, you can't just do the same thing. I mean, you can do the same thing forever, but then you just become one of those bands that you have a very niche fan base that just wants the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you never reach anyone new. I mean, there's there's something to say for that. I mean, consistency can be good. Personally, I like to see growth.
And I'm not saying that the stuff that I'm doing for Froglord is, particularly groundbreaking. It's not inventive stuff, but it's different from the last thing that I did, I guess.
That's sweet. Is this a solo project? I was gonna say, is it you're just doing this by yourself, right? The bands?
Yeah. So all like the writing and stuff, that's just me, and then I've got the guys who play the live band with. We keep talking about writing some music together. Man, it's hard to motivate a group of guys, like especially like when everyone's working in that. I just find it easier to just do it myself.
I was just going to say quickly, one of our other admins is a massive fan of yours. He reviewed the split that you did with Bog Wizard. He's just jumped on. He just wanted to say hi and tell you what he thinks of your music and ask a couple of questions.
Hello, I'm Yari.
I did wonder who that was. Hey man, how's it going?
Yeah, that's me. I heard that we were interviewing you, and I just had to come along and say hello. I was actually, it's funny actually, because I was actually just yesterday telling a few people to go listen to Army of Frogs. So,
nice.
Yeah. So you, something I'm curious about, because Frog in the Bog was such a great release. Are there any other? Do you have any other collabs maybe that you're working on?
No, there's no like splits or anything like that coming up. Nothing like that in plans. I don't like. I've had a couple of guys in the last year ask me to do some stuff. And I haven't really like had the right opportunity at the minute
Yeah.
to do anything. I'd be open to it. I'm not sure how much I'm meant to say. They won't mind. The guys at Bog Wizard, we did always talk about doing a second record. I'm not going to say the title of it, but it's fucking hilarious. If that will ever get done, we'll see.
That is exciting. That is very exciting.
Kind of, it'd probably just be like carrying on that story of.
I need to actually do a few reels about Sons of Froglord, because I need to do more. I need to do more reels about your work, like our reel series, The Cave. You may have seen it on our social media. Do you have something I'm curious about as well on the topic of collabs? Are there any like if you could collab with just any bands, like just like anybody that you think would be fun to work with, like who would you just love, like dream collabs to do?
Fuck, man.
Big question, I know, but take that for whatever you want.
Yeah. I tell you what, so in the UK there's this you might have heard him, Goblin Smoker. Like blackened, sludgy, like real heavy fucking stuff, man.
They're right.
Not really like the Froglord kind of sound, but so their whole concept, they write concept albums as well, essentially about the Toad King. I did, after I released the first album, Amphibian, I did reach out to them, be like, shit guys, sorry, I didn't realize you'd already had this like amphibian overlord thing going, because I'd been sent their music from some other people. They'd sent back, but like, yeah, it's cool, man, it's stoner doom, it's not like exactly original, we're all ripping off Sabbath, but man, I'd fucking dig doing some kind of like concept split with them.
Oh, that's awesome. I feel like they've come up in Cave Dweller at some point before.
Yeah.
The Brendan shared it.
Yeah,
in the group.
They're pretty big in the UK kind of scene.
Do you, with some of this content that you put out, like especially some of this some of the story behind it, do you play any tabletop RPGs?
Yeah, I play D&D. Yeah.
What
could you tell?
do you play with D&D? I mean, because I've been playing D&D for years, so I'm kind of curious. 'Cause I had a feeling that Froglord seemed like an RPG kind of band. Do you play what edition do you play? Do you play any old school kind of D&D, or do you play
I've only really played 5e. And that's to be honest, only in the last couple of years. So Froglord started before I got into D&D. I've been wanting to for years. And then I moved down here to Bristol just at the back end of lockdown.
Yes.
Met the guys that I was working with. They were all into it as well. So I was always like a D&D nerd at heart. And then it's only been in like the last couple of years when I got into it. So I still haven't DM'd anything, but I've got some good ideas, some stories.
Or DMing is, I'm sure you'd make I mean, at least just based on having covered your work before. I mean, if you got that level of creativity, I'm sure you'd make a fantastic DM. And I at least for me, like I'm somebody that with D&D wise, I've been playing for a while, but like I was stuck as like a perma DM for a long time. But like anybody that plays D&D, like, and anybody listening to this, like if you're listening to this and you play and you haven't DM'd, like I would highly recommend everybody to give it a go, because like you might feel intimidated by it at first, but once you do it, just run like a small dungeon or something, and you may find you love it. And if you don't, it'll deepen your understanding of the game anyway.
Yeah, I didn't, when I first got into it, I didn't expect it to be, maybe it's the group I'm with, I don't know, but I didn't expect it to be as goofy and silly as it was. I thought maybe it'd be a bit too serious and everyone, but like it's just an excuse for a group of mates to hang out, like eat some
pretty
pizza,
much
drink a couple of beers, and I don't know, it just leads to some, I don't know, great times, really fun.
I think that's the vibe of D&D. Like a friend of mine that a long-time friend of mine, he often says that, like he often says D&D is meant to be a little bit silly. It's meant to be fun. So I think that's the vibe, at least when you've got a good group and you're all just kind of vibing together with the game.
Just to ask another frog-related question. I know that a lot of your work, you donate proceeds to charity, or at least you bring focus to charities. What are some of those charities people should be checking out that are like frog related?
So the main guys I worked with is Save the Frogs. They're like the world's biggest, I think they're the world's biggest amphibian-based conservation charity. They're not just purely amphibian-based. They do like all sorts of, like, a lot of it's wetlands-based conservation, mostly based in the Americas. But I think it was when I was like 16, something like that, like a long time ago, man. I did some charity work for them. I have no idea why. I just liked the name of them at the time. I think I did it for some, essentially like some extra credit sort of stuff to write on my university application. Obviously, it was a cool charity, but I picked something to do, and I was like, yeah, this sounds cool. And then years later, jumped to Froglord. I'm like, oh wait, I did work for them in the past. They were some really sick guys. I got in contact with the guy who runs Save the Frogs, who's like really sounds musician as well. They're really good, like really super transparent charity as well, which I do quite like. Like, go on their website and literally have a breakdown of where all of their revenue goes to, and how everyone in the company's paid. And then last year I did some stuff for Pride Month with the Human Dignity Trust, and they work with it was like an LGBT charity. They're working with like a lot of stuff in Africa, so real heavy shit, man, where there's like death penalty for being.
Oh, that's based.
Stuff. Wow.
Yeah.
It's
fun to do some stuff with them again.
It's funny because that's the exact same organization that I'm not sure if you remember, I linked to you a little while ago, that battle bot called Robot.
Yeah.
Their team donates all of their proceeds to the exact same charity, the Save the Frogs.
Man. Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, Robot is a frog-themed battle bot. That's a bit of a champion, been slaying in the battle bot leagues, literally built like a frog, and his weapon is his tongue. It's awesome. It's pretty awesome. And the company I work for actually sponsors that team, which is kind of cool.
Oh, no way, that's cool.
Yeah.
Brendan, what's your favorite frog?
My favorite. Oh man, my favorite frog. Fuck, I always get asked this question on like interviews, podcasts, stuff, and I always fucking forget. Vietnamese mossy frogs are pretty sick. They're like really weird looking. What was the one? I think it's called it might be a Darwin's frog, but it's the one where the female frog, she holds the eggs in her mouth when they're still gestating, and they hatch inside of her mouth. So when they do eventually hatch, she just spits out live frogs.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's like a gastric brooding frog. I think they had.
Yeah.
Didn't they have? They used to have. They had some of those in Australia, I think, at one point. I don't know if I think they might be extinct, the Australian ones now. There's an Australian frog called a corroboree frog, which I like, which is it's like it's yellow and black stripes. It is completely yellow and black, and it's just stripes, and it's.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah, the Wiggles sing about it.
Oh, really? I did not know that. There you go.
The more you know.
When you said it, I just started singing the song in my head, and I'm like, God damn it!
What's the song called? I have to look this up. What's the song called?
Corroboree frog.
Oh, there you go. Yo, they are like still so entertaining though. I was at
my kids used to watch that when they were younger, and I was yep.
Like that is some catchy music.
I'm gonna have to close this episode with a clip from that song.
Yeah, you got it. It's
yes.
It's such a dumb earworm, man. You're like, why? Wow.
I feel poor for not knowing it, but I'm excited to hear it at the end of the show.
Oh,
I think that's like the point of kids songs, that make them intentionally like that, so kids will get stuck in their head and just keep playing over and over and keep.
Well, they'll sing along and they'll know, and it's like they can engage. It makes sense. It's just funny.
I've made it my mission to on my Twitch stream to get the Baby Shark song like stuck in my viewers' heads every time I stream, because I often pull out that do that little like tune. I often sing or hum that while I'm streaming, and there's always a viewer that's like, you got that stuck in my head again.
Jamie Top.
Stop it. Yeah, Jamie Pop. I like it.
That's why I started doing it.
Because it's Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso, yeah, because the chant, and I was like, that actually is, something I love about English sports fans is, I watch a lot of pro wrestling, and anytime, like the company I watch, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they go to the UK a lot, and anytime they're in the UK, those chants are amazing. Like the singing chants, brilliant.
Yeah, UK's amazing at that for sure.
I can't really say I partake much in team sports or watching team sports but when I was a kid, I used to go to football stadiums and that to watch stuff, and I know what you mean. Yeah.
Show we're talking about, it's one of those things, Ted Lasso. It's one of those things where when you explain it to somebody who isn't into team sports, like you would think, oh, an NFL guy going to run a football team, and it sounds so boring. But when you actually watch it, it's like the way I pitch it to people so that they might get interested, because if you can get them to watch one episode, they often will love it. The way I pitch it to people is Ned Flanders has a midlife crisis and moves to the UK. That's
I'm fucking sold.
Yeah, that's basically what it's about. It's Jason Sudeikis playing a character who is just Ned Flanders.
Yeah, but a much more complex Flanders. What I'll say is, like, the show isn't about the sports; it's about the people. The sports is like a setting for them to unfold character development.
It's a background. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's completely about the characters, though.
What's it called?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Oh, right. Okay.
And there's another show.
I saw. Well, we were finishing up The Crowded Room. We were like, well, maybe we were talking about Ted Lasso. Watching it.
Do it. It's excellent. I've watched it twice now already.
Highly recommend.
I showed it to my wife, and then her family's watched it. Everyone I know who's seen it loves it. And then Yari, you put me onto The Bear, which is
that's great. It's stressful, incredible, but amazing.
It's very stressful.
Yeah. But if you've ever been a chef, that show's pretty good about portraying like the rush and anxiety that people get and like whatnot. Is like, I grew up doing all those jobs, and then eventually was like, I was a chef at one point, and so it was like, oh man, I feel for each one of those people, like, fuck, they do.
Yeah, I remembered you saying that, and I was thinking about, there was like 2 or 3 people I was thinking about when I was watching that show. I was thinking about you. I was thinking about my friend's dad, like just a few people I know that have kind of been around that industry. And I was like, dude, like,
rough.
That if this is even like half as accurate as what it's like, man, so much more respect to chefs though.
Right. And like a lot of it's came down quite a bit since then. Like, depending, I don't know, like as far as like the verbal abuse and all that, like it's just crazy. Like, and it shows him like when he's like learning in those different restaurants, like French Laundry and whatnot. And the guy's just like, you fucking suck. Why are you moving so slow? You're stupid. Just fucking leave, all that kind of shit. And it's like, oh, God damn. Yeah, man. That's crazy. Crazy shit. They do a good job, that show.
If I can circle back to D&D stuff for a second, have you seen, if you've been playing D&D for a while, you may have seen some of the frog themed monsters that are in D&D. Like the frog hemoth is an old school one that is in 5th ed. It's a big giant frog monster.
I've never fucking heard of that before.
The frog hemoth is one. There's also a type of
frog hemoth.
Yeah, a frog hemoth. And
I need to have some stern words with my DM after this. Be like, dude, why have you never brought this in? Jesus, man.
Yeah, it's in what book is it in? I think it's in one of the expansion books. It's not. I don't think it's in the monster manual. I think it's in Volo's Guide to Monsters. It's in Volo's Guide to Monsters. Okay. Ask your DM about the frog hemoth in Volo's Guide to Monsters. There's also a demon called a Hezru, which is like it's the big demonic frog, basically. There's also chaos monsters called Slarty, which are like giant chaotic frog things. So there's some great like there's bullywugs, which are frogmen, and then there's the little poison arrow frogmen, the grungs.
Cool.
So if your DM isn't using froghemoths and grungs and bullywugs, they need to be incorporating these into your campaigns.
I need to
These
find a
all
new
s-
DM, dude, or start my own fucking campaign.
You can do it. Yeah, you can run like a Froglord D&D campaign, and
Yeah.
you can just incorporate like Slarties and froghemoths and bullywugs and
I always
Well-
liked Mr. Big Head.
What's that?
Ed Big Head.
from Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a
yeah,
good
yeah.
dog.
incorporate him. So I've got two quick questions for you. One is frog related and one is music related. Frog one's quick, so we'll do that first. As far as your love for amphibians go, is it just frogs or does it extend to other amphibians?
Amphibians of all kinds are welcome, even reptiles.
Great to hear.
Yeah. Salamanders, I think, are great. One
Oxalotl?
thing I'm going to use this platform to vent for a moment because
Go ahead.
I get so many comments and stuff.
Please
so
do.
one of our mascots, Herman, for you guys who are watching, I'm just going to bring him over quickly. You might have seen him on like the Instagram. So this is Herman.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
For anyone, if anyone listening, who might have seen the Instagram, the big rubber toad that's often featured. So many times I get people going like, "Oh, that's a toad. That's not a frog." Excuse me, but toads are frogs because they fall under the order of Anura, which are frogs. So toads are a type of frog. Sorry, man. I just had to vent that for
No,
me.
go ahead.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
It's like on the second album, The Mystic Toads.
So
I
what's
really should-
what's the
really
difference between a frog and a toad?
So all toads are frogs, not all frogs are toads. So
Okay, so like they're like the Gruyere cheese of Swiss,
yeah, I guess so.
Oh boy, what a that's amazing, Brendan.
right? Or the bourbon of whiskeys, right?
True, yeah, that's
There you go.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I can't argue.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
toads essentially branched off. They're a subfamily of frog toads.
Gotcha.
But I shouldn't let it get under my skin as much as I do. But so many people, like every album or every toad related thing, people are like, "Oh, that's a toad. Fuck off." I was like, "Well, toads are frogs, man."
Yeah,
Also,
especially
when
if they
the album
actually are.
when the album The Mystic Toad came out and people were like, "Oh, the album cover's actually a frog," I was like, "Yeah, read the fucking name of the album." No. Anyway, as you might be able to tell, this is something I've been holding on to deep inside for
Oh.
quite a long time.
Let it out.
Yeah.
The safe space.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the non frog related question, because we need to talk about your music a little bit more.
I had a couple
what-
of music questions.
Yeah, what inspired your sound? Like, who do you draw inspiration from?
Man, it changes every single album. So the last album, which was like a bit more stoner rocky, a bit more boppy, I guess. It was kind of more of that like Clutch.
It's
A
good.
little bit of like Green Lung. Like I was listening to them a little
Cool.
bit.
Love that band.
Like Red Fang.
Them too.
Yeah, that was the last album.
Oh, nice.
The one before that, so Army of Frogs. I remember I was listening to Mastodon and fuckloads before that, and like maybe
Oh,
it
I
doesn't
love
come out in the
Mastodon.
album so much, but it was the kind of because I was fucking around a little bit with time signatures in it. So
I can totally see how they would be I can totally
Yeah.
totally see how they would be an influence on your music.
thank you. But yeah, it does. It varies from album to album. I'm working on some stuff at the moment, which is based on something very different from. I mean, still in the stonery, sludgy, doomy realm, but different from those, like an inspiration altogether.
Right. I mean, what kind of got you into this style of music? Like, who are you listening to before you started making music that made you want to make music?
Man, so when I started Froglord, I think the band that really started it was Dope Throne.
Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, because at the start of lockdown, like they were the bands that I was listening to the most of the time, and I was just like, yeah, I could do. Maybe I didn't do that, but I was just like, yeah, I could make some music as well. Like I think I was mentioning earlier before, I was doing like a black metal thing beforehand, which I can't remember where that went in the end. That one was like a weird progressive black metal thing, which wasn't very good. Don't look it up. But in terms of starting to like record me, I feel like I've been recording music for like maybe 15 years now, so I couldn't really pinpoint it down to a area that started.
No, that's fair.
Off.
Totally fair. Brendan, did you have? I know you said you had some music questions.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, playing. You guys, played live shows, obviously. Like, what's your favorite song to play? Or do you have like a couple songs that you play in a row that like go just fit with the story and groove?
Yeah, I think hands down the favorite one to play is Swamp Boogie. So that was the last one on the Mystic Toad.
Okay.
And we usually use that for the last song of our sets, just because you can like really fucking make a spectacle of it. We kind of drag it out a little bit to the end. I also usually just after the last chorus, if there's not already a bit of a frog pit going, I'll jump in the crowd and start to get a little bit. Yeah, that's definitely the best one to play. The Bog is also really good. Like that's in every single set we do.
Nice.
Yeah, that was from the Bog Wizard split.
And what was the first instrument that you learned to play?
Guitar's always been my main thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who inspired you to pick that thing up?
It was probably a mixture of Angus Young from AC/DC when I was a teenager, and also playing Guitar Hero.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, just playing Guitar Hero when I was like 13, 14 and completely playing the shit out of that for way more hours than I should be. And then eventually getting to the point where it's like, maybe I should do this for real. I think that's I think Guitar Hero, especially Guitar Hero 3.
My wife and I played that a bunch when that was popular.
Nice, man. Yeah, I think that was
But I think that kind of inspired a whole generation of new guitar players, those games.
Oh, yeah, I bet, man. It made it so like it made it make sense.
Very true.
You know what I mean? If you didn't know how to play guitar previously, like you were like clicking the buttons and like you had to do like, you know what I mean? And you're just like, oh my God, I get it. I remember there being like so much controversy on like Kerrang radio here in the UK. I remember hearing so many like radio talk shows and stuff, people being like, oh, this is like destroying like music, like kids aren't going to want to like pick up a guitar after this. And man, you go like 20, 25 years down the line and like I think it's done a lot of good.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but there was some musician they did an interview with, and it was hilarious. He was saying that his kid kicks his ass at Guitar Hero playing his songs.
Nice.
he's like it's my song, and I can't even beat my son on Guitar Hero playing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But like going back to the like that Angus Young AC/DC thing.
Yeah, of course.
Like that was maybe not like it was a big inspiration, I guess, for me to pick up guitar, but like the actual like stage presence of Angus when he was, proper jumping around and going crazy. I think that was something that because like when I'm on stage playing, like just the Froglord character in general, it's pretty a pretty flamboyant, out there individual. And when I'm on stage, I do go pretty wacky. I think that stems a lot from that. I remember my first ever time I played on stage was in a Battle of the Bands when I was in like year 10, 10th grade. And yeah, I was only playing rhythm guitar for, I think we're doing a cover of I Love Rock and Roll. Man, I went fucking wild.
Hell yeah.
For those, like, I might play 2 chords, but I played the shit out of them 2 chords.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's just something that's sort of carried through.
That's wild.
By the way, it was Zach Wilde who said that his son beat him his own music. Yeah, there you go. Sorry.
That's great. No, you good.
Just wanted to clarify.
I know, like whenever especially after we were playing it a bunch, like we'd hear like, like the Primus song, John the Fisherman. I'd be like, red,
Yeah,
red,
yeah.
blue, and all that kind of stuff. Or like anytime we hear like a bass line or something like that too, it'd be funny. We'd just be like yellow, red, yellow, red. Yeah.
Nice.
Nonetheless, what's your favorite venue to play in your area?
So in Bristol, like I think the nice venue is the Exchange, and that's got like a real DIY punk kind of vibe. It's one of those sort of like, I wouldn't say like dive bar because it's a bit more classic than dive bar, but it's got that kind of like underground feel. Like it's all community owned. Like they do seem to do a real effort of supporting local acts. And they get some real fucking good names through. The Melvins played there twice last month.
Nice.
And I
Oh,
think that's
nice.
something to do with like their tour manager was like mates with the guy who owns the place. But they do get like it's only like a 300 capacity, like the main room, so it's pretty small, man. But they do get some decent names coming through. Yeah, it's a good
Nice.
spot.
Do you have any venues that you would really, really like to play one day that you haven't played at?
Yeah. So I used to live up in Edinburgh, in Scotland,
Nice.
and there's a
Love
couple up
Edinburgh.
there. There's one place. What was it? The Banshees Labyrinth. That was my favorite bar up there, and it was. I mean, as every other fucking bar in Edinburgh says, the most haunted bar in Edinburgh. They all fucking say that.
That's cool.
But man, it was fucking sick. It was over like 3 levels. Like the bottom one, it went like underground into the crypts. So you're like
Oh,
in
that's
an
awesome.
underground cellar crypt thing, and that's where one of the actual stage was. A really small
Cool.
room. It's probably only about
That's
100.
so cool.
Yeah, that was a cool spot. Um, uh, there's somewhere in Leeds. Boom. You were mentioning about wrestling before.
Yeah.
They've got like a really cool venue, like a few different rooms. They do mostly sort of like punk and hardcore there, but I've been there for like a few gigs when I used to live in Yorkshire, and often
Ah.
often in the past you'll be there for a gig, and in the room next door, so you'll go out like outside like the smoking area, and in like the room next door you can see there's like some like semi-pro wrestling going on. It's just such a fucking wild place, man.
Oh, indie promotion. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Leeds, it'd be like Tidal or maybe Rev Pro or something. Yeah, that's
I don't, I
cool.
don't know. I remember once going because, like saying, there's a few different rooms at Boom. Once I went there to go see a Doom gig. It was a band called Fawn, and I went into the main room, and I assumed it was just like the support band or something because they started playing some hardcore, and I was like, fine, yeah, like it's not really my jam, but um, maybe this is a Doom band, and they're just like a very fast intro. And then I realized there was like a bunch of kids in tracksuits, and they started like crowd killing, and as soon as one did a cartwheel, I was like, no way, I'm in the wrong fucking room. Went next door, and it was just like. It was just a bunch of like overweight middle-aged dudes, stoned, just standing in a room, slowly bobbing their heads, like, this is the room I'm meant to be in.
These are my people.
Yeah.
Are there any regions or countries you would really like to play in or tour in?
I really want to play Germany. I get messages probably once every couple of weeks, people asking me to come to some place in Germany. And from friends I've had who have like done tours through there, it seems like a really good place. It's like a really good culture for. I think they just like there's a
Get you at
seems to be a,
Varken one day.
yeah. Oh mate, that'd be freaking sick. We just had Bloodstock Festival here actually, which
Oh,
is a bit of a source, bit of a bit of a sore subject. Like we were just in Melt to the Masses, so it's like a battle of the bands sort of competition, and then they do it in various regions around the UK, and the winners play at Bloodstock Festival. We came second, which to be fair, the guys who played first, yeah, they were fucking great. Like they were, that festival. It's more of like an extreme metal festival, which they were a lot more.
Gotcha.
It's not really like goofy stoner rock about frogs festival. It's like, yeah, fair enough, man. Yeah.
That's funny. What's your favorite city to play in and visit? Go back and visit.
Shit. I mean, we haven't like done a massive amount of touring at this point. last year. Oh no, it was at the start of this year. We did a little tour. We played in Norwich, so that's on the east coast of the UK. Even people from the UK don't know where the fuck Norwich is, so I'm not expecting anyone here to know. But that's where I kind of grew up, and we played this gig in this crypt just opposite, or like underground, just opposite the cathedral there. And it was a really fucking nice show because I think that was like 10th time or something we've played live. So it was a really lovely experience, you know, playing my hometown. And there's a really good music scene there.
Hell yeah.
Brendan, you got any other local
Oh,
questions?
That finished it up for me, I think.
I do have a question.
Hmm.
The album art for Sons of Froglord. Do you have anything you might be able to share? Like, did you what sort of contact did you have with Bobby Satikno, who I think did the art? Like, how did the process for that go? Like,
I went on Instagram, searched psychedelic frogs, just looking up ideas for things, and it came up at some point. And then I was like, "Hey man, can I use this as the album art?" It was like, "Yeah, sure." Gave him a
his
bit of
art
money.
style's wild.
Yeah, man, he's fucking sick.
Yeah.
Someone commented in Princess Mononoke, you know, the whole the vine things with the hogs. It like reminds me of that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Oh yeah.
yeah, definitely reminiscent of that. But yeah, I think it's been the case, apart from the first album, Amphibian Ascending, it's been a case of I've found stuff that's already been pre-made by people,
Yeah.
and then yeah. In the case of Army of Frogs, that was fan art. Some guy about a year beforehand, before the album came out, just sent me this thing on Instagram, being like, "Hey man, here's a picture I drew while listening to Froglord." I was like, "This is sick. I'm going to use it as the album art for the next one." And
That's cool.
Yeah, commissioned him for it. So I'm not going to let anyone go without. So yeah.
That's awesome.
I do like I do love that with Frog in the Bog. I love that kind of that old school 16-bit kind of style.
To be fair, the album art for that one, the guys at Bog Wizard saw that art. I think they did.
Yeah.
They based it off. There is this. I think it's a Super Nintendo game, maybe.
Oh, really?
And it's pretty much the artwork off that, but then it's been stylized and put the wizard in it and stuff. It's called. I think it is just called Frogs. Yeah.
Do you know any? Is there anything you can? I think with the Froglord cometh, it has like a. It's the only one that's like it's like a photo of a frog, isn't it? It's like a photo, I think.
Yeah, that's because
What's the story with that?
that was a picture I found online.
Oh, it was
Because
just a cool photo.
yeah, because that was from the first EP, when it was Froglord still wasn't. I wasn't taking it seriously, I guess. Not that. Yeah, I take it seriously as like my main musical outlet now. But
Yeah,
at the
I
time,
get
it
what you
was
mean.
just like, oh, this is some dumb little thing that I'm just going to do this one EP for, and
Just
probably
a
never
hobby.
look at. Yeah, never look
Yeah.
at again. So not really a lot of time. I just literally found a picture online and changed some of the coloring on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's interesting. It's funny when you do it's funny when you start out on a project and it's just something you kind of start with for, you're just doing it as like a fun little hobby project or something like that. And then it just ends up kind of spiraling and becoming this big thing. Like that's kind of the Cave Dweller kind of started that way.
Yeah.
So, and here we are.
How long has it been going for now?
Almost 3 years now.
3 years.
Four.
Yeah. Yeah. This is our third
Yeah.
year.
Was
Think
it
so.
so was that a like COVID lockdown sort of
Yes,
baby?
very much so.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Man, so much good shit's come out of it.
It has creativity. Like people were trapped indoors, had to make something. A lot of great stuff was born. I think the official Cave Dweller, because we started as something else, a different name that was not too serious, but September is 3 years. So next month.
Nice.
Yeah, it's definitely sweet.
Yeah. And then the podcast started a little after that, but maybe a couple of months. So it's been almost 3 years on the podcast.
Yeah. Was it all
So-
three of you guys together? at the same time?
Normally it's just Brendan and I, but like Yari really liked your work and he wanted to say hey, so I asked him if he wanted to jump on. He does the reels for this site, and then he does Twitch streaming.
I
Yeah.
think I think I think you were asking. I think he was asking who started with Cave Dweller. It was it was originally James and Matt, who is our host for a community radio show down in Australia. They were the original founders, and then I jumped on board pretty early. I think Brendan came on board pretty early.
Yeah, Brendan was first. He was just started posting in our groups, and I was like, man, this guy's got pretty sweet taste in music. So I hit him up. I was like, hey, we're kind of starting this thing. Do you want to be an admin? He was like, yeah, sure. So it happened that way, and we've been friends for years now.
Yeah, I remember James when James first told me, like, because it originally started as just this little meme page, basically.
Yeah.
And then I remember James saying to me one day, like, I think we should do, like, what if we just run some reviews that are a bit, I could just do some more serious stuff. And I was like, I'll help with that.
Yeah.
Because I had, as with a lot of people, like I was, before that, my main outlet for writing was primarily academic, and I had just finished up with that. So I was looking for like an outlet to just, like a creative outlet, I guess. And Cave Dweller worked really well for me back then. Still does.
Yeah.
And then we all kind of, like, a lot of us kind of branched out to other things from this. So like Yari mentioned, Matt actually does a broadcast radio show in Australia. It's attached to our site, which is really cool. I've got a non-profit record label that works with marginalized artists on the side. That's called Heritage Harmony Records. That's super different type of music. Like, it's more like funk, world music, folk, just a different world for me to operate in. And then Yari's got his
all based
Twitch
in the
stream.
States? Is that all based in the States, the artists you work with?
No, so I exclusively work with people outside of Western Europe and the United States and Canada. So
Heritage Harmony, yeah.
Yeah, the whole point is to kind of give representation to what I refer to as like underrepresented and marginalized artists. So I work with people from like Africa, South America, Asia, Eastern Europe, so just places where they just don't get the representation.
Yeah.
How do you get in contact with artists? Because if you say like marginalized artists, that naturally implies that.
I think it's a process of, if you don't mind me answering, I think it's a process of, at least where I've assisted James with Heritage Harmony, something that I've done was you can do copious research, and you can, like, Bandcamp is a huge tool for this, because there's something something we do not to change too much, but like something we do with Cave Dweller every month that has been really important for me the past couple of years is the theme weeks, where we devote a week of coverage to different parts of the world. And one of the really big things I've noticed from that, like, is there are so many artists that upload their stuff to Bandcamp, and they have fantastic work, and
no views, no listens, basically.
And the English speaking media just isn't covering them, because it's just such a narrow focus on music from certain countries of certain languages. And even in those countries, you can see, like in the United States, there's so many language minorities that produce like amazing music in other languages. And so I think, like, with Heritage Harmony, I think part of it is like asking artists we know from certain regions, because like having done Cave Dweller and James with Shredstorm, like, we have connections and roots in places like Brazil and Mexico and so, and Nigeria, so we've been able to work those contacts to find artists. And like Bandcamp is like an incredible resource if you know how to search through the tags and find.
It's the hard part really isn't finding the artist. It's actually like I guess getting them to trust you, because it comes across as like them, they're kind of cautious because, so this guy from America is just offering to help put my music out, but he wants no money in return, and that's suspicious.
I'm cautious enough as it is. Like, if people were to approach me about anything, like, in the past with stuff, so I imagine in that context, it's that's a whole new level. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
especially when you're not asking for money and you're
yeah,
you know when you tell people like this is free, like a lot of the time, especially in the art world, or when it's people who are doing something publicly, you're naturally very skeptical about it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
totally.
So it's been like basically a process of some people are really like open to it because I just be like, hey, look, I've been doing this for years. Here's my cave dweller site. Here's my PR firm. Like I'm in the public eye. And I'm a public figure in music. I'm not some random dude on the internet that's a shadow figure.
Hmm.
And then basically like we have a contract done up that is really clear that of what we represent. And I think as well as it gets bigger, it seems less sketchy. So the
Yeah.
more like artists that sign, the more like followers we have on socials and YouTube and all that stuff, um,
Mhm.
people are much more likely to believe you, I guess.
definitely,
If you build it, they will listen.
Yeah, like I talked
yeah,
to
the old Kevin Costner rule.
exactly. Yeah, I mean the YouTube channel is like really blowing up now, which is awesome. It gives me a little more like credibility for the label to work on. So I've just been leading with that when I talk to people like, hey, like this is my label, this is the YouTube, check it out. I can get like your album a bunch of views, and they're like, oh sweet. So
Hmm.
that
Nice.
helps. Sorry if it's
Yeah,
a super long-winded answer.
no, like send us a link to all the stuff for that later because I've been going through a bit of a musical funk recently, so I need some. I mean, forgive the pun, funk, but um, yeah, I need some new stuff.
Yeah, I'll send it over. There's a good variety on there, and there's like was it 12 artists on the label now. I'm in talks with another six or so.
There
So
is some
Oh,
fantastic stuff on Heritage Harmony.
yeah,
There is some fantastic stuff that has been signed.
yeah,
cool, man.
yeah. I need to tell you about some other stuff after this year. I got some cool stuff in the works. Um,
Oh yeah.
from like Nigeria and other parts of South
Oh,
Africa and stuff.
I have a question for you. This is maybe like a silly question. I don't know. But with the Sam Hine album, right? There is so such a nerdy question. In Naruto, there's this giant orange frog called Gama. And there are even scenes where it's literally Gama in the trees, like towering over the trees. And so is there like any I mean, I guess
I have never watched Naruto. I'm sorry.
yo, I have to send you. I mean, I only just started watching this show like last year, so I don't know. But I have to show you. I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna find a clip of Garma sitting there in the trees, and I will DM it to you. And I swear, you are gonna look at this and you're gonna go, "This is
I'm
just.
like,
This is a
oh
lot like the
shit, there's another thing that
Samhain."
I've like ripped off. Yeah.
No, but I was looking at it and I was like, "Yo, this is like the giant god frog from."
At least let me have some like feeling of original thought somewhere, man. Yeah. No, that sounds cool, man. Yeah, yeah,
Awesome. Well, we're coming up on time here. Yari, did you have anything else to ask, or Brendan?
I'm good to go.
Nice.
One thing I would say is that um, if you were in the UK and you were listening to this, Froglord has some gigs coming up in Nottingham and Bradford, Manchester, Bristol at the end of the month. Please go check them out. They are fantastic.
And some
Yeah.
more towards the end of the year, which have not yet been announced. So if you're in the UK, keep your eye on that.
And keep an
awesome.
eye on Cave Dweller Music's Instagram page because there will be episodes of the Cave where I will remind you about these.
Nice.
So keep an eye out for Froglord.
That's
Right. So I've got one last question for you then before you let you go. And this one's going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. If you were stranded on a desert island and you had a solar powered Discman and only 3 CDs to listen to on repeat until you got rescued, what would they be?
Right. One of them's probably going to have to be a Tool record.
Yeah.
Probably Lateralis.
Good choice.
Second would be Farewell to Kings by Rush.
Oh, I'm
Alright.
loving these choices.
And the third, fuck. Maybe I just have to go with the classic, do with a Sabbath album, nice easy go. No, fuck that actually. Zeppelin fourth album.
Nice.
Good classic to go back to.
Great album. Good selection.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic selection.
Awesome. So the last part is a really simple one. If people want to buy your merchandise, listen to your music, or follow you on socials, where would they do those things?
Socials, head over to Instagram. That's where I do most of my dumb shit posting kind of stuff. Check out that. Obviously, Bandcamp, Big Cartels, where you got all the merch in that. But yeah, just keep an eye on Bandcamp. Got some more stuff potentially lined up for the end of the year, which is going back to the heavier sort of origins of Froglord. So
Nice.
if you dig that, give that a listen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you taking the time and love talking about amphibians with you. It's great.
Yeah, this has been great fun. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and you're welcome back anytime in the future. I mean, I know you put a lot of stuff out, so if you want to come back and talk about that, just let us know. And for everyone listening at home, thanks for tuning in. Come back next week with another guest for you.